following of people. And as a result of him having this massive following of people, anybody who comes onto his show automatically gets fame, notoriety, credibility, all of that. Now, does that mean you're going to get on Joe Rogan? No, of course not. No, of course not.
Hey there, Jeff Barnes here again with Digital Evolution Marketing Group. And as you can see, I'm dressed up all nice and fancy because I am doing videos today and I am doing interviews. And I want to talk to you about why you should too. You see, I want to talk today about podcasting and why podcasting is so important and has taken off so much. Did you know that there are literally tens, if not hundreds of thousands of podcasts actively right now in almost any niche you can imagine? Anything from underwater basket weaving to health and wellness. There's millions in the health and wellness space, to how to make money, how to invest, how to start a business, how to run a business, everything. In fact, there's probably a podcast in your area of expertise, and you should probably be on those podcasts. Now, I've done close to 3 dozen podcasts in the last 6 weeks or so. Other people's podcasts, not my own, okay? And I want to talk to you about why that is so important. Because in this day and age, we are in the attention economy. In other words, people are competing for attention every single day of their lives, in their business, in their marketing, in their advertising. You're competing for attention in your relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your parents. It doesn't matter. You're competing for attention all the time. We're competing for attention from our phones, from our computers, from the TV, from a million different streaming services. And in order to compete in an attention economy, it means you need to be almost everywhere, right? If you are a business owner, if you are a founder, CEO, if you're trying to scale up your company, if you're eventually going to try and exit your company, you need to be seen and you need to be heard. And in order for you to do that, there's a number of different channels you can use. However, almost all of them cost money, but podcasting does not. It actually only costs a little bit of time and attention for you to go and find some incredible podcasts that you would want to be on. Why should you do this? Well, there's a lot of reasons for this, but let me just talk about maybe 3 reasons today. The first thing is, people do business with others they know, like, and trust. People have to get to know you. They have to like you. They have to trust you before they will give you their money. Okay, it's the same thing if you're in a relationship, right? You don't take somebody to bed right away, unless there's weird circumstances happening, but you get them to know you, get them to like you, get them to trust you. And then eventually you build a relationship. You may get married, you may not, doesn't matter. But you generally don't start a great relationship without that know, like, and trust factor. Podcasting is a great way for people to get to know you, get to like you, get to trust you without ever having met you, without you spending any money on advertising to get them to see you, without them having to come to an event, without sending them an email, without doing any of that other stuff, right? And the beauty of using a podcast with the know, like, and trust factor is that they hear who you are. And if you get on a good podcast, if you get on a podcast where the speaker, the host, the interviewer is really good at asking probing questions and getting a chance to know you, then guess what? The listener gets to know you as well. I want you to go back and think about your favorite show. And if you think about your favorite show and you've watched it for several episodes, I'm not talking like one time, but it might have been something like Lost way back in the day, or House, or Grey's Anatomy, or I love Letterkenny. These kinds of shows, after you watch them long enough, you get to feel like you know the characters. Now, they're all actors, right? So they may be completely fooling everybody, but you feel like you know that character. You feel like you know Meredith Grey, right? You feel like you know Jack from Reacher, right? You feel like you know these people because you've watched it so much. Podcasting is a great way to do that, because if the interviewer, the podcast host, interviews you in a way that you can be vulnerable and talk about yourself, the people who are listening feel like they get to know you. And getting to know you is the first step in that know, like, and trust factor. Okay? So getting out there on podcasts allows other people to get to know you. Number 2, reason that you want to get on podcasts. You have something to say. Whether you are a motivational speaker, you are somebody that just wants to put a boot in someone's butt to get them to do something, you are a relationship coach, a life coach, you're an author, you're a consultant, you're a coach, you are a scientist, you are somebody with something to say, and you want people to eventually spend money with you, they need to know that you are an expert, you're an authority. Back in the day, if you're listening to this, I don't know how old you are, but you may not remember, there's this really small show called Oprah, right? And Oprah Winfrey would have people on her show. And as a result of those people being on her show, they would blow up. I mean, their fame would just catapult overnight because they were on Oprah's show. Oprah launched so many incredible celebrities that you probably know of and have heard of by being on her show. Now, could they have been incredible celebrities without her? Maybe, but who knows? I'm talking people like Tony Robbins, okay? I'm talking about folks like Robert Kiyosaki or Dr. Oz, right? These people were on Oprah's show, and as a result, their fame catapulted overnight, and their businesses took off. Well, what's the new Oprah, right? Because back when Oprah was going, we didn't have 5,000 different streaming services, let alone 5 million channels and YouTube and all that. That's why it was so popular. So is there any equivalent to Oprah today? Kinda, but let me show you one like really good is Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan is a podcaster. He's a comedian, he's a podcaster, was a fighter, right? But he's a podcaster. And so the fact is that Joe Rogan has this massive following of people. And as a result of him having this massive following of people, anybody who comes onto a show automatically gets fame, notoriety, credibility, all of that. Now, does that mean you're going to get on Joe Rogan right away? No, of course not. But if you don't start today, you never will have the chance. So getting on podcasts allows you to get into these local little niches where people already trust the host. And as a result of them trusting the host and you coming onto the podcast, they're going to start to trust you. So now they get to know you and they get to like you and they get to trust you. And if you have something to say and you are an authority, you are building your credibility and your expertise by being on someone else's podcast, okay? And the third and final thing I'll leave you with today is you can do this for free. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't have to set up a studio. You don't have to go get all this fancy equipment and set up your own place. You can go and start sending out emails to podcast producers, which you can find them on places like Listen Notes and others. Just do a Google search for, podcast producers. And you can find their email. Sometimes you have to pay for the service. You find their email and you start sending them emails. You let them know what your area of expertise is and what you'd like to do. And as a result of you doing all of this, eventually someone's going to reply back and say, yeah, we'd love to have you on our show. And when you get on the show, it's a Zoom call. There's all these platforms now. And you can be on a computer. You just have a basic, simple microphone. The better the microphone, the better, more likely you are to be invited or invited back. If your audio is terrible, they will not want you on their show. Sometimes it's video as well. Most of them are not. But that is shifting in this day and age. So you need a decent webcam, or you need a nice DSLR video camera, or a camcorder, or something that can plug into your computer. Don't worry about all that stuff right now. Worry about getting booked. And what are you going to say to these people? How are you going to show up? How are you going to convince them that you should be on their show? And do not start for the person at the very top of the list. Don't go for Joe Rogan. Sorry, Joe's not going to interview you unless you are, a really famous comedian, a really famous scientist, somebody who is very controversial and in the mainstream already. Then you'll show up. You want to go for those local, smaller niche audiences that align with what you're going to be talking about. You can reach out to them by email. You can send them a message on LinkedIn. You can call them. You can text them, whatever it takes. But then all you got to do is show up, sound professional, look professional, have an idea of what you're going to talk about. Be a little bit animated. Have fun with what you're going to say. Be a little bit controversial sometimes. Have something to say that is going to make people go like, ooh, what's he talking about? Or what's she talking about? Right? But podcasting is a great way for you to get out there for free, start tapping into unknown audiences that you don't have access to right now, start building your credibility, building your voice, building your authority, eventually driving people back to your website, to your LinkedIn page, whatever it is, and building traffic and awareness and generating leads and eventually generating customers. But if you don't start today, you will not be able to get this going right away. And I want you to get this started right now because podcasting is only going to get bigger and better and more people doing it. And people are looking for you and they want to hear your voice.